Well, I'm doing pretty good. This week was challenging. Work has been slow, but I do have faith that in the coming weeks, that with the weather and as well as just the climate of the state of, I guess, the states, we'll have more understanding of exactly what to do as relates to just building forward. I look to my students. I actually teach. I'm an adjunct professor at a university, so I kind of lend guidance to them as well. But I kind of live through them now to kind of seeing as them as being the, I guess you can say, the next face and generation of said leaders, industry leaders. So I kind of like I'm looking forward to living through them. I speak highly of this professor. She was a professor, but she was my teacher, Dr. Reeves. Back in high school, she was very instrumental in pouring into me, doing recommendations for college and all that matter. But to this day, I still keep in contact with her too. But I can honestly say that she was instrumental in me wanting to pursue the arts. I went to an all-girl high school, so you can imagine they were pushing us to be doctors and nurses, and I was always, I guess you can say, like the black sheep within my cohort. Um, it was about 63 of us, and I want to say out of all 63 of us, I was kind of like the only one who wanted to be within the performing arts. And she was the only African American teacher at the all girl high school as well. So throughout my college journey, I kept in touch with her. I recently saw her back in January. She's in Philly now, but for the most part, she's been very instrumental in me wanting to be of service as well as work in education. She's currently not teaching, but I feel like through her guidance, right, and then me understanding how important it is to see someone like yourself in college or even like in the classroom, I should say, and how she was able to kind of like make me want to, pursue that. Being a female, right, I'd say in a teaching position, someone who's respected as well too. I guess you can say nowadays, degrees don't matter. They do, but they don't. I would say experience more so in education, and really living through, I'd say, said purpose, right? I honestly feel like she was she was there for a reason, right? And it was so crazy because after we graduated, she actually left the school, right? But just seeing another woman inside of the parochial school and also just being able to kind of like lean to her with guidance. I can honestly say my upbringing at home wasn't the best, right? So when I went to school, I kind of like look forward to going to school, right? Like home was a hot mess, but I look forward to going to school, learning from her as well as my peers. But for the most part, too, I would say going to the all girl high school was very, very, very instrumental in me being who I am today. I've also had like bad experience with mentorship. Um, I'd say in the tech music space, I've applied to many internship programs or even just mentorship and trying to gain guidance from someone else. And in advocating, right, I told myself this year I was actually going to create my own said program to kind of like, hone in and be of service to young ladies. So I'm actively working towards that, as well as working at the center and teaching. I feel like honestly, teaching was always going to be like the North Star, right? I feel like, working in the industry is great and all, but being able to provide, I'd say, knowledge, education, be able to foster and pour into someone else, that's what gets me going nowadays, to be honest. It wasn't until COVID happened that I had to really sit down and be still, right? Um, I was working at the governor's office, right? You can imagine, COVID land, I called it. And I'm pouring into the small businesses, right? I'm helping develop programming and all of these matters, right? But remember, music was always like the North Star for me. And I just knew like I just had to find a way. And working through COVID, helping the small businesses survive, and then experiencing my dad's passing, um, And then two, me trying to really just be stable for the sake of just the way the economy was and everything else. And, but it wasn't until he passed that I was like, you know what? Therapy, right? And really was instrumental in doing that weekly. I would say about 6 months prior to his passing, and when he passed, very much so it carried over. But just making a plan and just really being consistent and asking myself questions to be like, if I'm not happy, how can I make myself happy, right? What avenues, what parameters do I have to kind of change in order for me to kind of like feel like I'm, pouring into myself or really putting myself first, right? And with that leap, I legit left my job. Like I had no plan, but honestly, I can say since leaving that role, I haven't been stressed at all as it relates to just work, or I'm not as um how do you say, I'm not as hard on myself, right? I don't know. I feel like I don't wanna say I get bored very easily. If something is not of a challenge to me, I guess I'm like, "All right, how else can I challenge myself in any different mode in different ways?" Um, I will say even in college, I transitioned from, like, a liberal arts degree to being an engineer because I wasn't challenged enough, right? I remember, like, my first 2 years, I was, like, breezing through classes, and I was like, "This is a little too easy. I'm going to parties on my side a little bit. I don't think I wanna do all that," because I knew, like, at some point, I'm gonna get lost in the sauce, and I was like, "I wanna be an engineer. Let me just see if I can do it," right? I tried it. I didn't succeed, right? But I found a way to kind of, like, learn the tech side and do all that good stuff too. But yeah, I just feel like once I've kind of like accomplished something, I'm always looking for like what's the next challenge within myself too. For the most part. Growing up as an only child, my parents were kind of like, "What do you want to do? You can do whatever you want to do to keep me occupied," right? So I played instruments and I didn't, follow through, but I tried, right? Clarinet, guitar, all these things. Recently, I purchased an MPC, so I'm trying to learn how to make beats with my guys. But it's just always like, how can I, an artist, right, fend for myself financially? If there's any resources, how can I obtain them and be self sufficient? I feel like um, in all the roles, like dating back from like the first job I've ever had, it was always supporting someone else or helping a small business, helping an artist thrive at a major. But now, if I may transition to the VC space, it's still advocating for artists and advocating for the arts to kind of be like, how can we transform it? How can we repurpose it? Right? There's always ways, different ways to look at something, but also like how to make money, but also like how to help the artists make money. I was never afforded the opportunity to work at a major. I've interned, I've tried to like get in via Twitter, applying for jobs, and I've actually had interviews, but for whatever reason, no one took a chance on me, right? And I didn't get upset. I just saw it as, you know what? Gotta create my own shit. Like, and I just always knew at some point it was going to happen. I just didn't know how. Um, I don't have everything. I don't know everything too, right? So it's just a matter of just building a community, right? Finding the right community. Again, social media. I met a guy online and friendly conversation, nothing romantic, but still just more so like I was like, oh, he likes music, buddy. Like automatically friend zoned him, right? And then over the years, he be kind of like, we've kind of like poured into each other and kind of like been a safe haven, I guess you can say. And a few years later, he's like, I have an opportunity, and I joined and now I'm currently helping them build. We still don't know what we're doing, right? But I do know that all of the no's I was told down the line, it's kind of prepared me to kind of like push me and actually made me really want to make this thing work, right? My house was deemed the fun house, right? I had every toy and all the things, and all of the folks in the neighborhood came to the house and all that good stuff. Um, but unbeknownst to me, my dad was outside with it, like respected, right? And my mom was a homemaker. She was oblivious to it all. And then I got a little older and I realized that the whole house was a whole shit show, right? Like, um, I'm not gonna tell him my dad. But a lot of illegal stuff was happening and occurring. And that was the reason for why we had the house and all the different things and things of that nature. So I would say leading up to middle school, high school, um, we had a home invasion, and that kind of like made me be like, whoa, all right, I don't know what's happening, but I need to make sure that I'm set up. Um, and then I go to college, all that good stuff too. And then even in college, um, they raided the house. So it was kind of like, whoa, this is a lot. I thought I escaped it by going to college. Never went home or anything, but also just I thought I escaped it. Um, I feel like I kind of feel that grunt still to this day. Um, it was one of the reasons for why I wasn't able to kind of just be able to take a risk, right? I've had to take calculated risk. The North Star was always to work in entertainment, right? Whether it was like music, dance, all that. So by going to college, I escaped home, but I wasn't really able to fully pour into what I wanted to do or explore it because I wasn't able to do it as a kid. Um, and then when the second raid happened, um, I had to kind of hold down the fort. So for like 4 years, I had to stay at a job that I hated. And I felt like it was my prime for me to really be like, I can just leave and get a job at a label and just try to see if this is what I want to do because I didn't even know if it was what I wanted to do. And I had to basically do that bid for 4 years and sacrifice a lot. Um, and even now to this day, I feel like I'm still sacrificing a lot of things for the sake of stability. Um, but I always want to see things through. That's one thing that is kind of like a curse all in itself. Like I'm learning like if something doesn't serve me currently, it's okay to kind of dip rather than trying to see it through and ultimately being upset with myself. Like, damn, I could have kind of alleviated the issue. I can honestly say I live in a lot of different cities neighboring, but there's nothing like it, right? It's really rich in culture. Um, Even though the riots and what happened in the 60s and how it shaped just how I'd say folks viewed the city. For a long time, um, the predominantly like downtown area was kind of abandoned. Um, a lot of crime ridden and all of that nature too. A lot of colleges are downtown, which is crazy. Um, but I would honestly say that you know, being able to kind of like, I guess you could say, cast my home as well as just the rumblings of Newark, and being able to kind of like see um, the see it for what it was before the riots happened in the 60s because you can read about it and all of that for the most part. But I knew it was always going to be like way more better when it kind of got an opportunity to kind of like get the funding to kind of like rebuild and revitalize it for the most part. Um, but I honestly feel like I miss the old Newark. Now it's not even the same. It doesn't even feel the same or resonates the same. Having the different sections and the different little cities, little Brazil and little Haiti and all of that festering around the downtown area. Even the culture of like club music and things of that nature too. Like even though we had this great debate about Chicago and Baltimore, but like Newark we have our own sound as well. And I can honestly say Jersey Club as well as the parties they used to throw back in the day. Folks in my age range, I guess we can say we kind of like we kind of helped keep the culture alive. For the most part. Nowadays, it's just very much like Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn, like how everything has gentrified. But for the most part, I do miss that portion of having the community and folks getting together. But we do have like festivals that occur every year as relates to just culture and the arts and paintings and things of that nature as well. Community for me, the digital community, I should say, whether it's socials, it has been really like vital in my development. Um, just having this conversation or connecting with you, or I connected with you via social just to be like, oh, it's easy for me to do that rather than to say, break bread sometimes with someone who's like a neighbor to me. I guess it's like a safe space, oddly, for the most part. But I feel like this is what makes me me, right? Like, this is what makes me quirky in my way of kind of like navigating and building community and things of that nature. So, um, I feel good to be here to share with you all my little nuggets of life. I do know that I do have to kind of like look within more so to really figure out exactly like what my set purpose is. I kind of feel like I know what it is, but I'm kind of fine tuning exactly what needs to be done next. I've been learning how to express if something is, say, bothering me or um, any concerns, or even like if it's not concerning, right? Just being able to express myself out loud rather than kind of like harboring in things, right? Um, I would say a lot of my peers, because we're all a work in progress, right? I don't have all the answers. I never to contest to say I do. Um, but I would honestly say a lot of folks from the outside looking in will view me as, oh, you got it together. I have my days when I may need support and may need to kind of like, peel back a layer and be vulnerable. And sometimes it's hard for me to do that within my current community of circle of friends because, you know, even just finding employment and having a decent job, I can't even complain about that because some folks may not even have a job. And I'm like, well, damn, I'm trying to like better myself. And they're like, well, at least you got a job. But that ain't the point. Everyone has and wants to be greater in some other capacities. So for me, I feel like it's easier for me to kind of like lean into my digital community, which is kind of nuts. Um, but I feel like it works for me. But I'm working on bettering my relationships with my set peers um, offline as well. I don't view anybody as competition at all, right? So for me, if I have any wealth of knowledge or any nuggets to share, I'm willing to give it, right? And it's not always the same for everybody. And I understand it as well. But for me, some folks may not want to kind of, have that type of rapport offline because they don't want to compete, quote unquote. I'm trying to help everybody, right? Everybody needs help. I need help. And we should all be trying to help one another, whether it's digital or even like an in real life experience as well. I really haven't mastered a way to kind of like combat that. Um, it's something that I'm looking forward to exploring because I would say this week it was kind of like a lot. I kind of needed support in that capacity and wasn't able to receive it because folks are unavailable. But I do understand that, I can't like always look to others to solve my problems for the most part, but it would be nice to kind of have folks, um, readily available to kind of just listen to me at some point. I'm working through that. And honestly, I don't even know how to ask for help. That's crazy to me. Like, I'll be really like, damn. And then when I do ask for help, I'm like, not shunned or shut down. It's kind of like dismiss. Folks are more so dismissive to be like, oh, you don't need help. You're just trying to like, flake. And I've gotten that a lot. So it kind of like stunts me in terms of like wanting to be open and express that I may need support in that capacity. Therapy has helped me regulate a lot of my emotions as well as figure out how to better deliver said outcomes for the most part. Um, just all the trauma I've endured, I've reflected on that too, like in therapy, right? And forgiven said folks for things, but for the most part, I'm like, damn, I see why I was so reactive. But now that I've processed a lot of that and I've forgave um a lot of things, and I feel like I understand why things happened the way they did, and I don't take it super super duper personal. Um Even though it has affected me, it is not, a core character trait within me, right? It helped me build my character, I should say. But I'm not my circumstances, right? I'm proud of all those bruises and badges I've acquired over time, right? Um, I also thought about this lately too, like in terms of just like there's no one out here remotely like me, right? And I have to understand and I also have to champion that to be like everything I've endured, the good and bad, um, it's made me who I am today. Um, but shout out to therapy because I don't even know how I got into therapy. I want to say probably like working at the state, I was just so stressed out and I'm like, I need to talk to somebody. And I didn't have, you know, um, the proper avenues. And I stumbled upon somebody on, I want to say Psychology Today, and found someone and we've been locked in since then. So the relationship I have with my mother, um, and us going through so much, um, you know, as a little one and, now as an adult, um, you know, we were dealt a hand. And I remember when I was away at school and I wasn't as understanding of her transition. She had just moved from Jersey to the South, and she was just trying to find her footing. My dad was away, and I'm in college trying to get my life together, right? And I just did not have the capacity to like hear her out and listen. If it wasn't like aside from sending money, I didn't have the capacity to listen to her um, and support her in that way. She came up for my graduation and she was so ill at the hotel because for whatever reason she didn't want to stay with me. Um, and she was so ill she couldn't make the graduation. So after graduation, of course, I'm upset, whatever. I go to the room and I'm looking at her like something's not right. Something's not right. And she had pneumonia and she didn't know she had it. And by the time she got back from Jersey to North Carolina, she was almost like out of here. So I had to then drop everything and, support her and come down there. But for the most part, like I feel like from that day, I really understood, like I had to really hone in and understand exactly like how she needed me to support her. And even though she wasn't able to support me how I felt she needed to support me as a kid because she really wasn't present, um I knew then on that I would have to repair my relationship with my mom. The more I get older, the more and more I have honest conversations with my mother. Um and learning about her story and all the things that she wanted to do and wasn't able to do due to her disability. Um, she's on the spectrum. So she has like her strong suits and she's, um, but just seeing her now and how she's navigating and just having the tools. I feel like I have the proper tools despite everything with how my upbringing was. I feel like just seeing her currently still trying to fight the good fight, um, and not complaining. Like, she doesn't complain at all, and I really don't either, but I also feel like everything that I do is honestly for her.